Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third part of our safety series. This is one we've all been looking forward to because we're centering the voices of our students. So we have some amazing students on the line tonight with us that are going to engage in a conversation with our facilitators that are here tonight. And we're just so excited to bring their voices into our community. Next slide, please. We know that the safety of our students and staff is our number one priority. We do everything possible to protect our students. And protection means a lot of things, and I think our kids will talk about that some tonight. Next slide. So why we're here, students and staff safety is our number one priority. The compounding effects of some of the division in our community and in our schools impacts our students. It's critically important that we partner with our students and families to promote safe and welcoming schools and a chance for students to discuss school safety and answer questions in a facilitated format. Before we get on to just a quick introduction of our partners, and I'll just do that through a slide, I do want to say that while we will have the question and answer feature open tonight, we are fully attempting to center the voices of students. So if there comes a question that it works out in a natural way in the conversation, we'll be monitoring it and we'll ask our facilitators to ask the question, we'll interject, but for the most part, we're going to let it be their conversation, their facilitated time to bring student voices into our conversation. With that, our next slide just introduces our partners, and you'll have time, go ahead and switch the slides. There we go. Our law enforcement partners are with us again tonight, so thanks for being here. Salem PD, Keizer PD, Marion County Sheriff's Office. Also, we have a number of district staff in attendance there on the slides, and then you'll see our students listed there. When our facilitators, Emily and Mike Green, start, we'll give the students a little more chance to go ahead and introduce the students. But I do want you to know all of our students, we try to get representative samples from all of our schools. So we tried to grab kids from across our community for this conversation tonight. For our students, thanks for being here tonight. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Moore. And sorry, a little bit of context for safe and welcoming schools, and then he'll introduce our facilitators. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much, Superintendent Perry. And I've got to say, I share your enthusiasm for this night, for the opportunity to hear our students share their heart, their courageous opinions, and their truth-telling capacity in this space so that we can be learners. So as I thought about today and kind of all the different things that were happening today, and this was my bright spot to look forward to at the end of the day. We talk about student voices. It's important for us to count the numbers, of course, and remind all of us what we've talked about before, which is centering the voice of everyone in our community so that we all feel a sense of belonging, so that every student feels a sense of belonging. We've talked a little bit about the data, and that data is storytelling, and we are the narrators. Specifically, we've asked questions of our students and are getting ready to ask the same questions again here in a couple of weeks about sense of belonging. Remember, sense of belonging is how much students feel that they are valued members of the school community. We ask these questions. How well do people at your school understand you? How connected do you feel to the adults at your school? How much respect do students in your school show you? How much do you matter to others at your school? And finally, overall, how much do you feel like you belong at your school? And on this next slide, you will see what those numbers look like. And just to put it in context, this means when we look at all the different demographic groups, that only 6 out of 10 of our Native and Indigenous students feel a favorable sense of belonging. And we see across the board at the elementary level what that looks like. 6 out of 10. That means that 4 out of 10 students don't feel a favorable sense of belonging. And that's 4 too many. At the secondary level, we see some even more concerning numbers. It's a sense of detachment. And now we start to see 6, 7 kids out of 10 not feeling a favorable sense of belonging. Now, I will surface and tell an important piece about this data, which is at the one end, we have do not feel like I belong at all. And on the other end, we have feel like I completely belong. And most of our students who don't fall in that category of a favorable sense of belonging are in this place of I belong somewhat. I feel a somewhat of a sense of belonging. And that's a place where we can provide additional support, just a little bit extra, each and every one of us extending ourselves just a little bit more to invite more people into this space so that our schools truly are those places that are safe and welcoming. Speaking of safe and welcoming, we are so excited to invite a couple of community partners who have done work across the country, centering conversations with groups and finding common ground. Mike and Emily Green co-founded Common Ground Conversations in 2019. It started as a workshop for parents and teachers on how to talk to kids about race in America. Emily's background includes social work and managing wraparound services for at-risk families. Mike's unique lens as a cultural economist and national consultant on inclusive competitiveness strategies laid the foundation for a first of its kind approach to informing, educating, and equipping leaders across industry sectors who engage the public and grapple with critical issues of race. The Common Ground Conversations journey began with a series of inquiries to Emily regarding the homeschool training of her two young boys on issues of race. And we're so excited and grateful for the opportunity to have you lead us through a conversation, Mike and Emily, as a gift, as another community partner to help us all get better together. I'll turn it over to you.
What a wonderful introduction.
Really. We are just so delighted to be here with each of you this evening. As Chris shared, Mike and I co-founded and facilitate Common Ground Conversations on Race in America. And we have the great gift of working with police departments and school districts and churches and nonprofits, governments and universities. So we like to begin, and we'd like to begin here tonight with establishing a common frame of reference that we can all agree on. So we can all agree that every student, all humans have equal value. And we can all agree that we want a safe and welcoming environment for our children when we send them to school. We can agree that we want all students to contribute to that safe and welcoming environment. I think we can all agree that as parents and educators and administrators, that we have a role in safeguarding that environment to ensure that it's safe and welcoming for all of our students. We can agree that we inherited a system, a school system that we necessarily didn't create, but that we have the opportunity to help redesign. And so we want this environment tonight and this space together to model that safe and welcoming space for honest, productive dialogue where all of the views are really honored and heard. So we're going to start with the students. We're so excited for each of these students. And here's what we'd love for each of you to do. And I wish that our screens were arranged so that we could see the students right at the top, but I'm going to find you and we're going to see you. And I would love for each of our students, if you would introduce and share just your first name and share what grade you are in school, not identifying what school necessarily, but just your grade and your name so we can all hear from you and see who our student panelists are tonight. That would be fantastic. I'd like to start. Just unmute and introduce yourself. We would love that.
Okay, I guess I'll start. My name is Dara and I'm a senior.
Hi, Dara.
Hi,
My
Dara.
name's Brody, and I'm a senior as well.
Yes.
Hi, Brody.
Hi, Brody.
My name is Grace. I'm a senior.
Hi, Grace.
My name is Patrick and I'm a sophomore.
Hi,
Hi,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Great. And if you'd like to share your school, that sounds like that's an okay thing to do as well. So
Hi, I'm Isaac. I'm a junior from West Salem High School.
Hi, Isaac.
hi, Isaac.
Everyone, my name is Paul. I'm from North Salem High School and I'm a senior.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
I'm Aisha. I'm a senior at Sprague.
Hi, Aisha.
Aisha. Wonderful. Is there anyone else as I search the squares here? Do we have, is that all of our students?
Hi, my
Jacinda.
name is Jacinda, and I'm in 7th grade from Judson.
Hi, Jacinda.
Hi, Jacinda. Welcome. Go. Is that
Hello,
it? Yes. I hear somebody.
I'm Francine, I'm senior.
Hello, Francine.
Hi, Francine.
Hi.
Hi. All right, students, I think we've heard, hopefully we haven't missed anybody. If so, jump in. But what we'd like to do with our time together this evening is a couple of things. We want to hear about what is so that we can build better. And here's what I mean by that. We want to hear from each of you. We'd love for you to share some brief insight, a story or an experience that you've had. And we love if you can follow that story, that experience, that sharing about an experience that you've had, with how your experience might have been different if you could design an environment that you'd like to see at your school. So it's kind of a two-part question, and however you'd like to start it would be great, but we'd love to hear a story that you might share of your experience, and then a reflection about how that could go or could look different.
Yes. Who would like to break the ice?
And really, we're wanting to hear, and we're going to kind of co-dream. I mean, we're going to dream together about. So if you walk into a school, and the experience could be one that really feels to you like this is how it should be and should go. Like, we're going to sort of think through how that might look. But we'd like to start with some experiences that you've had, so we can kind of hear about those, learn from those, and then envision based from that as our starting place.
Yes, keep in mind that tonight you're the teacher. We're the students. We want to learn from you.
Who would like to be our first sort of just voice? And again, your first sharing is not the end all be all of where we go tonight. It's just the first offering in the bucket of where we're going to kind of stir together. So who wants to throw something in the pot?
Just unmute yourself and start talking.
Beautiful. Isaac, hi.
An experience that comes to mind for me is just thinking about my history class and the way the desks are aligned and how students kind of go out of their way to make sure they can communicate with their friends across the room instead of maybe looking at the person in front of them to meet somebody new and make a new connection. And they're really just trying to go way out of their way to connect with their old friend instead of trying to meet somebody new and like start a new conversation with somebody who they might have not met before.
So how would you imagine that could be designed in a way that sort of creates a better picture for you of a classroom space?
If there was kind of a feeling that there was no kind of groups or, I don't know, cliques walking into the classroom, that everyone was just kind of there on an equal playing field, and just instead of trying to only connect with certain people, that everyone's kind of on the same playing field and everyone's just connecting with each other, not going out of the way, just whoever you're sitting across from or whoever you happen to be by, just treating them like a friend, somebody you've known for a long time.
I love that, Isaac. Thank you.
I think I'll chime in next. I think my example, and it was even today, just walking around I go to Sprague High School, and kind of walking around our school, and just at lunch, seeing the amount of students who are just sitting by themselves. They're just feeling alone. And that's kind of been a big push at Sprague, is making sure every student feels that they have someone in their corner. And it just hurts me seeing students who don't have that. And I think as far as like an improvement to make off of that, at Sprague, we've created a peer mentorship program, which is kind of a structured way for upperclassmen. They're kind of called trained mentors. And then underclassmen, when they're forecasting as freshmen, they have the option to select a mentor. So this past year, we had 90 freshmen paired with a mentor. And I think it's a good way, it's a start to kind of make sure students in our schools feel like they have someone to connect with, because in a high school size of that many students, it's easy to walk the schools and walk the halls feeling like you're alone. So I think that's the direction Sprague turned it, is making kind of integrating this peer mentorship program to say, hey, you have a person here.
I love that, Brody. That peer mentoring program seems like such a really valuable step in the direction of creating a sense of belonging. I mean, that's really sort of what we're aiming for, right? In this space, is to think about how can every student feel safe and feel like they belong.
It also sort of addresses what Isaac was speaking to, where if you're only engaging with people that you know and people that you feel comfortable with, people that are familiar to you, it creates a sort of segregated environment, whereby if there are upperclassmen who are mentoring and reaching out, then when everyone comes to school, they feel like not only are they part of the class that they're in, but they're also reaching across those generations to make friends and have mentors with people that are ahead of them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, I can kind of speak to that. The mentor I received at the beginning of the year, and he came into Sprague not really feeling like he knew what he was doing. He kind of had that scaredness in him, and now watching him now with 2 months left in the school year, he's getting A's in all of his classes and he's doing great. And I think a program like that has such good potential of kind of making sure students transitioning into this step of high school. I think it's a good start. So
I love that. How like widely available or accessible is that program? It sounds like you're saying it's kind of growing and it's at your school, right? Is that something that's?
Yeah, it started at Sprague, and then actually we've been fortunate enough to kind of reach out to our local elementary schools. So we have a group of mentors who go to Liberty Elementary 1 day a week, and a group of mentors who go to Shirley Elementary 1 day a week. And that consists of kind of working with students on a variety of things with kind of their spelling, their times tables. And then my personal favorite is getting to go out to recess with the kindergarten through the third graders, and kind of getting to hang out with them and having all of our high school mentors, kind of building that relationship. It's been a cool experience.
Sounds great. It's like intergenerational inspiration.
So much. That's really excellent. Thank you, Brody. We'd love to hear from some of the other students. And some of your experiences that we can learn from may not be positive necessarily. Those can be really helpful for us to learn from and learn about. So feel comfortable if you'd like to share experiences where maybe there hasn't been a sense of safety or belonging for you or someone that you've seen. And how could that have looked different?
I also want to just remind you all of you students, that you may not know this, but there's only been 8 generations since the Civil War, 8. And each generation has a responsibility in designing the public schools and redesigning, reshaping, reforming, and we're constantly in this reforming, redesigning, and now it's our turn. So we get a chance to redesign, reform, reconstruct for the next generation. So like what Brody was saying, those students that are in elementary schools, when they get to high school, they're going to inherit the environment that you get to create, just like you inherited the environment that someone else created. So we all inherited our environments, and now it's our turn. We get this opportunity to create something. And here's what I want you to think about, and maybe if all the students can address this. If you could construct a school environment from scratch, if you could give me one word, just one, that would characterize the environment that you would create. Now I'm going to give you an example. I'll give you a few words. You can choose from any of these words, or you can choose one of your own. Ready? Inviting, embracing, welcoming, empowering, uplifting, encouraging, affirming, valuing, belonging, supportive, trustworthy, responsive. These are all different kinds of words that if I could create an environment, it would characterize the environment that I would create. If you could create your environment from scratch, give me just one word that would characterize that environment. Anyone can go first or second.
I would say diverse, like diverse.
Yeah.
I
Thank you,
think
Patrick.
that I think that maybe having a more diverse school with more different teachers of like, you know, teachers are people of color rather than a majority of them being mostly white. Especially as a Hispanic, as a Mexican student, I'd say that sometimes I'd find myself kind of alone, especially because there's no actual like Hispanic teacher I could talk to at my school, at least at South. Um, it's a little weird to say out loud, definitely. And I can definitely tell that there's some people that would disagree with me. And they could say, well, South is, it's already as it is. It's a good school. And I do agree with that. But I'd just like to say that maybe having a more diverse school, at least with teachers, would be quite helpful for students like me to feel more safe.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Patrick.
Patrick, so much.
Mhm.
That's really important. And I'm really glad that you gave voice to that for this group and for us to hear. It's really important.
Diversity is important. Thank you.
All right, who as a student has another word for us? What would the school environment be that you could design? If there could be a word or a couple of words that would say, this is what we would like our school space to feel like and to be like.
I have one. I think I have two words, actually. I think united or equitable. I think attending North Salem High School, where we have a very diverse student population, and it's a school where a bunch of newcomers join us every year. Our diversity is very important to us, and it's important that we have resources that's equal for everyone. And it leads into, if we were to start and build our new school environment, it starts with changing the school culture. It's not less about creating and providing resources, but changing the school climate and culture as a whole, so it's more inclusive and everyone feels welcome and heard. And it's often really hard for students of color to speak about mental health and other issues about sense of belonging. And as long as we continue to provide resources and make it so that we break that stigma of speaking out and speaking up, and then we are able to move towards a more inclusive and equitable and united school.
Wow. Very well stated.
Thank you, Paul. Do you see some of this in your school now? Is there an example that comes to mind for you about how this is happening really well? Or the opposite of that, which is where it's not happening very well?
Yeah, for sure. One example is we recently started, and I helped co-found the See Something, Say Something program committee at North Salem High School. And we are definitely working towards making sure that we engage with our student population as much as possible, going out during lunchtime. We call it the lunchtime chalk talk. So we invite students to grab some hot chocolate with us and answer a survey about like our school, how we can better support them. And it really addresses all the issues about school safety and vandalism, bullying, cyberbullying. And we're really working towards giving that voice to students and making sure that we are having communication with students who are students of color from underrepresented communities and those who are typically not in your traditional leadership positions. Right? Because we continue to have voices from students who are usually the presidents of different clubs and organizations. But what about the students who often feel like they don't have a voice? Those who are often looked down upon from other different populations. And we need to really hone in on those who typically are sitting alone, who are looked upon as not having a voice or should not have a voice, and things like that. And we need to consider everyone when having these conversations.
That's just so invaluable. I really love to hear that that is something that's happening. And it sounds, Paul, like you're just really doing some beautiful, beautiful work in your school. I just really honor you.
We had a student with their hand up.
Yeah, that would be me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. A word I would use to, like, if I could build a whole school from scratch, I would use the word encouraging. I think that part of the reason why it's difficult for some students to feel welcome or safe at school is because they lack encouragement. from the people that they encounter daily, that be it teachers, their peers, their family. And that can really take a toll on someone if you don't have someone that is encouraging you and cheering you on. Students from underrepresented communities sometimes don't have that support system at home. I know that me being a first generation student, it was a little bit lacking in at home for me, because like my parents weren't able to like support me because they'd understand how things would work. And additionally, I think that having the support and encouragement of your teachers boosts your confidence and makes you feel like you're ready to do what schools are trying to prepare you to do, because nobody wants to feel as if they aren't capable of doing something. But a lot of the time it only takes one person's opinion to like make you feel bad about yourself. But having a strong support system and encouragement at school can have a lasting impact on how a student performs. And that's also why I think it's so important that students have teachers that reflect them and their culture, because there's already a connection between the people because of the shared culture.
Wow, that
Is
was
it
beautiful.
Belen? I want to.
It's pronounced Belen.
Belen, okay. Belen, how would you describe how that encouragement could look like practically? Would it be teachers that would be sort of speaking that encouragement into the students? Like how would that take shape in your mind?
I think that a lot of it is based off of action more than words. When the teacher and for example, if a teacher entrusts you with things that they know that you are capable of and helps I'm not sure how to say this, takes the time in order to make sure that you are understanding things and taking the time to answer any questions and taking into account your opinions and your feelings, that feels encouraging, because there is someone that is very involved in trying to understand you, as well as just not being diminishing someone's feelings about something. Validating how someone feels is also an encouraging factor.
Mm-hmm.
So Belen, let me regurgitate what I heard. You tell me if I heard you correctly. What I'm hearing is that encouragement is really essential because it empowers a student, it makes them feel valued, it boosts their confidence. Some of the ways that teachers and administrators can encourage students is to empower them with responsibility, ask their opinion, uplift them and validate them on a daily basis. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, I would say so. I think that a combination of all those aspects makes it seem as if it's not just something that is like expected of, or like, no, that let me rephrase, as it's not something that is being forced out of the teacher just because they have to, but because they truly believe that their student is capable of doing something, which is what I think should be the case. I think that encouragement should be honest, and that the teachers should believe that their students are capable of doing things, because they most certainly are.
I love that. And so that authenticity of belief in the students is reflected in the empowerment and encouragement and uplifting of that student. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes. I think so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Ellen, thank you so much. Wow. We would love to hear. We have another couple students. Hello. Yes.
Grace?
Hi, Grace.
Oh, hello. I was just gonna say, I like a school environment that was inspiring and exciting. I think that right now I think even with like a traditional classes, that be honors, that be AP, that be survey classes, it's just not the route for everyone. And coming to school every day, even if you're doing good, even if you're getting straight A's, it's just, it can be so repetitive, you know, and I think that students need, they need to have classes where they know they're going to gain something from them. So we have like career technical classes where you can receive a certification you can get connected with groups like networking. So you kind of know where you're going to be after graduation. And then as far as like inspiring, I think, you know, it's one thing for a celebrity to say, hey, you know, follow your dreams. I came from nothing and now I'm here. But sometimes you need to see people from your school. You need to see students who went to elite colleges. You need to see students from your school that became doctors or politicians or teachers, you know, any career. And one of the things McKay has is a alumni association. So we try and connect students with alumni of the school. I know we've had like models. We've had models and doctors and business entrepreneurs, and it's so motivating for students to see that people came from a school that's theirs, and that they know these hallways, that they know these teachers. So I wish we could do more of that.
That's fantastic, Grace. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love the reminder of like real world inspiration, not just sort of like a superstar, but like these things are really possible from right here. Like look at what we can do and build. I love that.
Exactly.
That's so great.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Grace. Hi, Dara.
Hello. Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Paul took my word. My word is going to be equity. And I think there's so much importance in equity in educational aspects. It's very important for teachers to meet students at their needs and not necessarily expect students to meet teachers at what is expected, because that's not what equity is. Equity is making sure that every student, because obviously every student is different, is met at where they are. Like, for example, for one student, participating for them is raising their hand in class, answering all the questions. But for another student, simply being there is like their absolute best. And every student's best looks different. So teachers being able to make sure that they meet students at their needs and they don't, I guess, I don't want to say too high of expectations. They have high expectations, but they form relationships with their students and they know their students well enough to know what their best looks like at all times.
Wow.
I really appreciate that, Dara.
Thank you. It's like we do that with our kids.
Right.
They're at different levels. We have different expectations and we meet them. I hear that.
Yeah, that's really important. Have you had an experience of that, Dara, where you've seen that happening well? Or there's room for
Experience.
What's
I have a negative experience of it not happening well. Can I elaborate on that?
For sure.
Yes.
Okay, it was very recently. So I have a little brother and he's diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So he's nonverbal and like non-mobile and stuff like that. And my school has a unified program, and the unified program is for students with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities. And like the goal for a unified program is to make sure that all students of all backgrounds, of all abilities are connecting and forming relationships. And we have multiple unified classes for that. And so recently my little brother got graded down for not participating well enough in class. But for him, his participation is simply being there. Like him being there is his absolute best. Him being present and like just being there is his absolute best. But also like in Unified, we have students who like their best is presenting and talking. But it kind of hurt to see that like my brother got graded down against for not participating when he was participating the best way he could. So that's why I think like equity and teachers meeting students where they're at is so important.
Thank you for that example.
I appreciate that. Real quick question. If the environment was as you would like to see it, how would that teacher have responded to your brother?
Like I stated earlier, like every student's best looks absolutely different. So I guess maybe knowing the student better or forming connections with all the students in the unified class and like knowing what their best is, knowing if they're having an off day, or just taking an extra step to involve yourselves in that student's life for just that day, to know that, okay, this is their best. Like they had a really rough morning, or they had something was going on, so this is their best, this is what they're going to be able to give you in their class today, and that's just going to be it. Like, you're going to have to meet the student where they're at. That would be the best way to turn it into a positive.
Thank you very much. Did we see Aisha?
Yeah, so the word that I was thinking of is genuine, and not just genuine in like your relationships with staff and each other, but like genuine in how you view yourself, because I feel like a lot of students feel extreme pressures, like trying to get into college if that's the path that they want to take, like, and also the pressures of like social media where they see all these glorified things, you know, usually you only post things when you're on a like super fun trip or you won something, and on the announcements you constantly hear about someone winning this, someone winning that, someone doing this amazing thing. And you know, we all have to take PSATs, and we're ranked by like if we scored in the 90th percentile or lower, and you know, we do have class ranks. And so I feel like a lot of kids feel that they're not important or special enough or significant because they don't feel as successful as someone else. And it's important for them to know that their role in society is important regardless of if they cured cancer or if they just got to wake up that day. And you know, that's obviously like echoing what Dara and Paul had said about with like equity, is that we all deserve to respect ourselves and each other despite like how much we value our accomplishments, I guess.
Yes. That's really insightful and really fantastic. Aisha, how can you think of, and really if not, no worries, but I'm just thinking with you about what you've shared, how can that look? Like, how can there be a culture in a school that celebrates the students in ways that may not be the typical highlight reel celebrations? Like, is there a way that the school culture could make that happen, or it's just something to be sort of mindful of for staff? Like, have you seen that happen in a good way, or like?
When you speak of genuine from a teacher who is valuing every student equally, regardless of the path they choose to move down one path or another path. When you enter into an environment where a teacher is genuinely and honestly, with an authentic spirit, encouraging and uplifting every student, regardless of the path they have chosen, how would that make you feel, and what do you think that looks like? How do you think that can come to fruition at your school?
I've gotten pretty lucky to have teachers that all feel very close and genuine to me because they seem like they love their job. They're usually very happy to be there, and they go around classrooms a lot. Like when we're doing in-class work, they would go to every table and kind of start conversations with them and ask about their personal life. You know, it's not just, do you need help with math? It's like, you know, how did you do? Like, what did you do over break? Like, what did you do over the weekend? And sometimes, like, they'll even try to come to your sporting events or whatever. And I just feel like making that connection, like, past just academics, past just, like, what's in the classroom, really makes people feel like they're seen as a whole instead of just one student in a classroom of 30 or so.
It's very insightful.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Are there any other students that we haven't heard a word from? Hey,
Francine?
Isaac.
Oh, Isaac raised his hand.
Yeah.
But Francine,
Yeah, a word.
we'll come to you next, Francine.
Me. Next. Oh, next.
Sorry. A word that comes to mind when with this prompt was curiosity, and I think it really kind of goes hand in hand with what both Dara and Aisha were saying about teachers kind of taking that extra step to really get to know a student kind of beyond the traditional classroom. And I think that can do a lot for creating a sense of belonging for a student.
Have you had an experience of that, Isaac, that was meaningful for you or is meaningful?
Kind of like what Aisha was saying. I have a math teacher comes to mind, and he really just takes a couple extra minutes to engage in some small talk with students and get curious about what they like to do in their free time. And kind of, it's not kind of how you'd imagine it. It's much more informal, and it doesn't seem as forced as it might with some other teachers, just kind of outside like what we're doing academically right in that moment, just taking a second to really connect, and having it be pretty authentic and genuine, like Aisha said. That's kind of what stuck with me there.
Thank you, Isaac.
Excellent. Thank you, Isaac.
Hi, Francine.
Hi. First of all, I want to say sorry, everyone, for being late. My computer was confusing and doesn't work. So sorry for that.
It's okay.
The word I want to use is comfortable. I want to tell people about comfortable at school. The day I started at North Salem, I was not comfortable because there's like many people over there that look like me. And I wasn't going to take lunch, and I don't know where I could take lunch, and I feel like who can show me around to go take lunch or bathroom like that. So the woman who give us lunch, she take my food and throw away. I don't know why she did that. And I go to the bathroom, I look like, oh, I'm only Black here. What I'm come to do here? Then go back. But when I go back, I did go back. The white girls, and it come to my head. Why your hair look like that? So I don't feel comfortable my hair, and I don't feel comfortable at school because I don't make friends. Some students look, I can make friends with her. She's weird. Like, yeah, it's okay. Took someone, and I feel so badly. So as I'm senior right now, I should give some new students comes to give advice or to give like buddies. Never give up and keep going where you're going through. Don't listen what people say. You come to students as you are students, learn what they do and ask any questions. So by myself, how can I ask question and I should speak English? English is not my first language. I speak 5 languages. English is like 4. And it's hard to know. I speak this and some girls say, oh, she does speak English. Let's say some bad word. I feel so bad. And we need some like, oh my gosh, I don't know. We need some volunteer to volunteer as new students comes and to tell us like, don't feel like comfortable. You are at school, you are like home, and share with us food, play, everything you are. Yeah, so that is my
Wow, Francine, let me process what I'm hearing from you. Feeling like an outsider on campus makes you feel bad, and it's not comfortable. But if it was a warm and welcoming environment for students with maybe some sort of buddy program or mentoring, I think someone mentioned that, some way for a new student to step onto a campus and feel like they have a sense of belonging, that people are reaching out to them, and meeting them where they are at their level of need. Is that something that would be favorable in the environment that you're describing? And if so, what would that look like for you?
It looked like, it's not like bad. Like I have two girls in North Salem High School. When them see me, feel like happy. When I'm gone, feel sad because I'm talking to them. My language and her language is the same. And feel free to ask me what's their needs. And ask me, but I go talk to teacher, why do you do this to her? She's human. She's like you. Don't look like, because we are not the same. You're skinny or her skinny, but the blood is the same. I say, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about her. Yeah, she's like my sister. She's my young sister. I can say what she needs and give her respect. Like she can give you respect. And say, okay, calm down, calm down. How can I calm down? You talk like she's not human like you. And I feel like so sad. Today we meet at school and hug me after advisor and said, bye, when I see you again, because like I'm high and she's early. And I say, when? I don't know, I'm busy. I have planned to graduate this year. So don't give up, keep going. This is life. And I feel so sad to see her, what she said to me. And I know, how can I say, because I'm a student like her, what can I say? She needs help. She needs some volunteer to support her. Yeah.
So Francine, you are in that role now. It sounds like you had an experience when you came to your school and you didn't feel comfortable and you didn't feel welcome. And now as a senior, it sounds like you are providing that role of comfort and mentoring to younger students. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, you are right. I feel little comfortable because my English is to talk to who talk to me badly. So, and I talk to her back. I feel like I can help myself. Something happened bad to school, I can tell my mom, because I know my mom, she's like, I don't know. She can go to school and speak to them. It's not like fighting. So I didn't want like that. I'll be like strong woman. I'm going to school to learn, not fighting. Like voice. I'm here to sing, not to fighting to people. Right now, I'm a little comfortable, and I'm comfortable because I talk to people, but I don't have friends. When people see me around, she said, oh my God, why is she? Always headphone, always headphone. Yeah, it's always headphone because I don't who wanna talk to me. Come to me, talk to me, make friends to me, I will talk to you back. Don't tell me bad word. I don't like that. Respect me, I will respect you. If you don't, no way. No one can respect each other. Yeah, I'm comfortable right now. And so happy to meet you, all of that.
Thank you, Francine,
Thank
for
you for sharing.
sharing so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other students that want to, join in with what Francine shared or add to that, build off of that? She's really shared vulnerably, and it's.
Yeah, who haven't we heard from?
Yeah.
Have we heard from all the students?
Did we hear a word from everybody? Well, how else can we think about building what we envision?
I want to, but here's something I really want to hear from all the students. We've heard from them some of the ways that we can build a better environment, and we've heard some great things, and we'll recap that in a moment. But we've also heard that some of these students are really thriving, and as Francine says, she's comfortable now. There are people in your environment right now who are making that environment better, who are making that environment more comfortable, more inviting, so that students can thrive. I'd like to hear from all the students. If you can just tell us about one person in the environment that you see is setting an example, the kind of example to emulate, whether it be a student, whether it be a teacher. You don't have to name names if you don't want to. Just give us one example of what's going right.
I know we have one.
I can start.
Great.
So this person is one of the members of the equity committee, and they're actually on the Zoom right now. Their name is Miss Cynthia Richardson. And I admire this person so much, not because one, like, she provides representation for me as a Black student. I've never experienced having or seeing necessarily a Black teacher, but this person, she's talked about her experiences in education and where she came from and where she is now, and hearing about equity data, about equity in the district and just all over America is so inspiring to hear from this woman, and like where she started from and how much change she's brought to especially this district. So it's so inspiring to see someone who looks like me in that position of making so much change in our community.
Thank you, Dara.
Thank you. Shout out to somebody.
Cynthia.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
Cynthia?
Cynthia. That's what she's talking about.
Oh,
Cynthia.
Fantastic.
Yes. Yay. Hi, Aisha. Oh, there we go.
I can't really pick between two people because they really both made an impact on my life. But the thing that they share, I guess, that I really value from them is, again, like that genuine interest in like me personally, because I went through like a lot, I guess, but it was like hard for me emotionally, and I know that's not an experience that's unique to me, so everyone could like benefit from this, but they never judged me for if I was not performing well in class or if I wasn't like showing up to school, but they just kind of was really gentle with me and was always checking up on me. Like they sent me a lot of emails like, hey, like, how are you doing? And they're always just very kind and always willing to help me fix whatever mistakes that I've made in the past, and just being really kind and non-judgmental and always encouraging.
Love that.
Thank you, Aisha.
Love that. Thank you, Aisha. Paul.
Yeah, for me, I can't really name like just one. I have like at least four, but the general like.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a great thing. Is the ability to have conversations in which they are uncomfortable, that allows us to both, as me, myself as a student, and them as a teacher and educator, be reflective on their own journey, their own path, and allow me to do the same thing. Having these uncomfortable conversations allow us to be adapting to these uncertainties of the world. And once teachers start removing us and the lessons away from the academics and start focusing on conversations about what's happening in our world, because quite frankly, we're still in this pandemic and there are still so many problems that are occurring, conflicts, that it's really important that some teachers are taking a step back and reflecting on themselves as a teacher and having these conversations with students like, oh, we should not be learning about this math right now. We should be talking about the world. How are you guys feeling? How's your mental health addressing all this? And really having these teachers sit down with me and talk to me, and even as in a whole group discussion, is allowing us to like asking questions, even though we don't have the answers or they don't have the answers themselves, is allowing us to be like vulnerable, and they're doing the exact same thing and showing us that vulnerability. And I just want to like applaud those teachers. They know who they are, and just continuing to make me feel like I'm heard, and continuing to do that with all the other students as well.
I love that so much, Paul, because what you're describing is that comfort with uncomfortable conversations, but really it's the teacher stepping into the role as a co-learner with you, which is sort of that, we're all learning. You're learning, I'm still learning. And that posture is really supports all of us. It's a really supportive posture. And so that's a really beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that.
It's another layer on that genuine authenticity, that honest personal connection. I'm hearing these themes throughout. Thank you, Paul.
I think if it's okay, I'll chime in a little bit. I think when you're thinking of like the perfect teacher, a lot of teachers that I've had teach me, they're not willing to take that extra step, if that makes sense. If talking about meeting students' needs, if I need to stay after school, they're kind of that 8 to 4 teacher. And I think as a student, it's very helpful, a teacher who's understanding that I'm not grasping this lesson, and them taking the time and them seeing that and understanding like, hey, Brody's not getting this, and intentionally coming up to me and being like, hey, we're going to figure this out. We're going to stay here as long as this takes. And I wish I could say that was all teachers who did that, but I think all of the students understand that's not. And going back to that genuine, I think that's been a key phrase that's been echoed all throughout this meeting. Teachers who kind of see us as students, as people, and not just as kind of that 6-digit student ID number. I think that's kind of that big thing that we're going to take away from today. Excellent, excellent. Brody, who's doing it right? A teacher I can think of is one at Sprague. His name is Chris Trammell, Mr. Trammell. He's the leadership teacher at Sprague, and he's someone who I wouldn't be the person I am today without. So I'm thankful for him. Nice. Thank you.
So great. Anybody else want to piggyback on that? If they've had an experience where someone has really embodied that welcoming space, that genuine space, and how did that make a difference for you in your life at school?
Grace.
I would say my counselor. And up until this year, I've only had problems with my counselors. I was always like, I do not want to do this year. I have to change my schedule. I don't want to meet with the counselor. And I remember it was like the week before spring break. And the week before spring break is a week. Only it's like you're taking L's the whole week. And I was stretched then. I was out of 10. And I was sitting in class and I get this pass and it's like, you need to go to the counselors. And I was like, oh boy. I was like, I can't, I'm on my final third right now. I was like, oh my goodness. And I came in and she was just sitting, I was just saying her name, Natalie, Miss Dunn. And some people may know her because I think she worked at Sprague. And she was just sitting on the couch. She said, Grace, come sit down. And I was like, okay. And I was like looking at her computer to make sure we weren't going to talk about college or anything. I was like, I can't talk about it right now. I really can't. And we just talked about movies. We talked about movies for like 30 minutes. And then we talked about cartoons. And it was just so nice just to have someone to, because for me, she was, counselors are somebody who's going to talk about school with you. They're going to talk about your grades. They're going to maybe put some pressure on you to send in stuff. And it was nice to know that I could go to her for something else, or just kind of go to her as a person and not just as an administrator or as even just a counselor. I was talking to her like a friend. I mean, we were talking about cartoons. So I really appreciate when teachers can kind of let their guard down a little bit and just have a conversation. When you're in high school, you're at a level where you can have those conversations where it's not, the hierarchy kind of situation. So I just want to give a shout out to her. I really appreciated that.
That's awesome. So that personal connection opens up an opportunity to have these authentic, genuine conversations. It builds trust and empathy, and it empowers the student, lowers the stress level.
Yeah. That's something important too, which is that teachers are human. So it's like humans and humans, like we're all humans, and there isn't this hierarchy, but teachers are seeing the human value of every student and really stepping into their humanity as teachers. And so connecting like that, that's really, really beautiful.
Teachers are people.
I know, right? That's great.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
So before we, I guess
We have about 10 minutes until wrap up. Is there anybody else that wants to share something? Again, we are really, you are co-designing, you are giving voice, and there are many people that are listening and that are going to listen after and that will hear what you shared. And this is really a beautiful, powerful opportunity for you as students to really share what's on your heart. What can the district be doing better? What can the schools be doing better? And what can it look like? Aisha, hello. Where do you go? Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I know I've been talking a lot, but I
No,
just
it's
feel
great.
like, especially at our age, and I guess the moment you stop being as naive, you're very focused on like your future and like finances and always trying to look to the future or whatever's next. But I feel like there's also a lot of value in taking care of your present self. And also, I feel like that kind of gets disregarded in a high school setting where we're very focused on academics. And like I know when I was in elementary school, I was a lot happier and I really liked school. It was like my favorite part of life. And maybe instead of trying to like redesign it from like scratch, maybe you could like turn to what we did in elementary school when we had like breaks and we just like talked to each other, and when we had all of those team bonding activities in the beginning of class, which I know a lot of the freshmen do, but something that kind of gets pushed aside when you're a senior and they kind of expect you to know everyone already. So yeah.
Really like that. Some of the connection things that you said, sort of the introduction games, the breaks, the creative, that sort of creative space, to have that built in and not just completely sidelined in the name of like getting that good grade. Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you.
Let's go to Paul and
Yep.
then Patrick.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is to continue to have these conversations and do it more on a more regular basis and not just once a year or anything like that. And I know we have student engagement cafes as well, and we need to start listening to voices of students and have them engage in these conversations, because the decisions that impact students need to be made by students. And like you mentioned, we are co-designing this, or what we want our schools to look like. And we should not be removed from that process. It's more than just allowing us to story tell and share our experiences. It's allowing us to engage in that process, seeing it unfold, seeing if we want this infinity spaces or creating systems, mentorship programs, things like that. Have students be involved in every single process and step of the way. And don't exclude any students, whether they can't speak English that well or they don't have the time for it. We make time for them. We make students and we allow students and accommodate for students to be a part of these conversations and never stopped us. And I know most of us here are already seniors, so definitely we need to start looking out and start checking every single classroom and have this larger conversation. And it doesn't have to just be one occurrence where we have and collect students to be a part of a panel or a Zoom meeting. We could simply start in the classroom and have students in an informal setting, just have these conversations and feel like we don't have to keep talking about academics, and we just get away from it and look at the world and look at each other and be united as one.
Paul, I hear echoes of Belen in your statement when she talked about encouraging students, but not just through words, but also by equipping them and empowering them to with responsibility and to help co-design and help to lead.
And not just one time, but sustained. I love that. Let's hear from Patrick. That was excellent, Paul. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, I just like to build off from what Paul was saying. I do agree that, like, if we want there to be change, that we should allow our, students to actually open up and talk about their own experiences. I really do agree with that. But I'd also like to throw in that, like, as an example, like, with different students that maybe may not know English as their primary language. I guess that's an example, like, at South, we've been receiving quite a few immigrant students from like Mexico and stuff. And so there's not a lot of support, like I guess from the staff that, you know, they're letting them, you know, learn English faster, or, you know, maybe help them make friends. Because I've definitely have been seeing them, like, you know, as from my experience, like I'd walk down the hall and I just see them sitting in the hall by themselves. And part of me is like, wow, you know, I'm an immigrant from Mexico. I totally know how this feels. It's really heartbreaking. And I tried my best, you know, to help them out and stuff. But I just, you know, I like to say that me doing the work by myself is very difficult. And maybe, I guess, you know, going back to the question of how we can make our schools better, it would be if there was some sort of like student built a student, like, you know, associated program in which, you know, they can help immigrant students specifically. I'm just, this is all coming from my own experiences and stuff. This may not apply to every student in the school, but it is something that I think should be emphasized, and I believe it's not very emphasized enough. But yeah.
Thank you, Patrick, so much. It's so important.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dara.
Okay, I wanted to piggyback off of what Aisha said. She talked about like when school gets really busy. You know, the focus of high school is just like academics and grades and doing all these things to get into college. And she talked about having like mental health breaks. And the week before finals for first semester, in my Avid class, like all we've been having is just work days and like studying for finals. And then one random day, the teacher's like, okay, I need 7 volunteers. Who's gonna volunteer? And then we played Heads Up 7-Up, and I didn't know how much I needed that. Like it was my favorite game in elementary school, and we just got to play Heads Up 7-Up for a lot of class, and the other half of class we were just coloring, and like it was that well-needed break that I feel like if I didn't have that break, I would have like definitely crashed. I did crash during finals, but I would have crashed a lot worse for finals. Like I was just like, okay, my mind is in work mode, just all this work and all this studying and just all this cramming. But having that little break of let's play Heads Up 7-Up, let's color, really helped me. And I know it helped a lot of students with their mental health, especially with that stressful environment and like stigma of finals.
That is such a really awesome example of a teacher sort of creatively shifting gears in a way that was super supportive of the students, totally outside the box, and also like super supportive. So
yeah, we all need mental breaks, don't we?
Yes, we do. Brody.
Yeah, I think I want to start. I think what everyone said was spot on. Specifically what Paul said, and reiterating that, I think to make the change, I think it starts with having more meetings like this and having more conversations like this. I think that's making it not just a rare occurrence, but something that we continue discussing in the district. I appreciate the kind of the district administration, Superintendent Perry, kind of seeking student voice. That's where a lot of change is going to be made, because we're the students that are sitting in the schools and in the classrooms every day. I'm going to think specifically like going and talking about like classrooms. Not every student in schools kind of feels comfortable speaking up about kind of what is going on in their schools, and creating a way. I don't know if that's through like student advisory groups, or just something to make sure every student voice is heard, and not just like leadership students or involved students, but every student has a voice. And that is important. And that's just a cause on my heart. But I think it's something I thought was worth bringing to the table here.
Thank you, Brody. That's a recurring theme tonight.
It is.
Francine.
I just want to say that like someone look like me to help us at school, and we need like some experience for them, for new students like me. And someone we was in school and help us was some woman, and she come another country, but we have new one. She calls Rachel. She helped us, and she helped us like we feel like a little comfortable, because she's not always come to school and speak to teacher. How the white teacher can tell another teacher about us. And we don't feel comfortable to tell white teacher, and we feel like, oh, maybe she gonna say something bad to another student. by me. And we don't feel comfortable for it. We need experience. We need respect as students. And we need volunteer at school. Some students come later. After I'm gone, another student comes. People who look like me, people who look like another student, and like Spanish. So speak Swahili like my language and understand what she's talking about. But why? How can I understand? She doesn't speak Swahili like I speak. Like someday I was in school, Mrs. Mandojano. She was the best teacher, but she was speaking Spanish at school. So we was like two students like me and talk each other. What's she talking about? We need to learn English, not Spanish. And I said, no, Spanish is important in America. So here both. I said, no, I can't hear Spanish. I'm here to learn English, to speak to people. Why they speak to me? And I said, let's listen. Every day, Spanish, English, Spanish, English. I feel like I'm mad, angry. What? And I feel like I'm not happy. Bring us the volunteers to she speaks Swahili or little French. Little French, yeah, we might. We can talk and listen. But Spanish, I can. I can. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Francine. You're making me think about what I believe Patrick brought up. Diversity is important. Diversity of culture, diversity of language, diversity of the people we see that look like us, that we can relate to. Those things are important in every environment.
We go late to school and call my parents, hey, Francine, she's late. But we let two people. How you can call my parents and just call her parents? No discrimination. Here is to school. Teach me what I'm wrong, what I'm going through. I need to hear some conversation. And thank you. And sorry for my side story.
Thank you for sharing, Francine.
Thank you for sharing. This is the reason why we have this forum, because of your superintendent, because of your teachers, because of all of the people here that are supportive of the voices who aren't always heard.
That's right.
And so we want to elevate your voices. We want to learn from you and hear from you. And this is what we've been doing today. And I've heard all these recurring themes, and we're going to wrap this up and turn it back over to the people in charge who invited us here to converse with you and learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we need like counselor. We need good counselor to school. We don't need counselor to look like, she look black, I can help her. Do whatever you do and do what you think you're doing. Don't think you are going down. I'm not fair. I'm not coming to school to fail. I'm coming to up and to fix my grade. Give me what class I want to do. I want to graduate. To wake up in the morning and go to school is not easy. When I put alarm will wake up me and say, I feel like I can slap alarm. And it's my phone. I can do that. So when I go to school and counselor say, you are fair. How? How unfair? Please let me know what's wrong. And let's work together. But as you say, we are human. Students and counselor, students and teacher. We are human. Please help me. Don't put me down. Don't put me down.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to recap really quick what I'm hearing. I'm hearing some themes. We've heard that from Isaac that We want interactive group environments. We want to eliminate this segregation. We want people to feel belong. We've heard from Brody that students often feel alone, and that the upper class mentoring and the pairing students can help that intergenerational inspiration. And there needs to be a more frequent opportunity for voices of unheard students to be heard. We've heard from Patrick that diversity is important.
And from Belen, that the
association
environment, Belen said the environment of encouragement, which I love, that sincere encouragement. We heard words about inspiring and exciting.
From Grace.
From Grace, that's right.
Yeah, and Dara was talking about the equity in education, that teachers meet students where they are, where their needs are. And someone mentioned universal design learning in the chat, I believe. And I think that applies to what Dara was talking about. Aisha mentioning being genuine. Yeah. And you know, students are under a lot of pressure, and this class ranking devalues students that aren't making those kinds of grades or aren't pursuing some of those different pathways. But all students, regardless of what pathway they choose, they should be valued. And we've heard from Francine that she wants to be comfortable and that she has a sense of comfort now, but that wasn't always the case. And now she's trying to make that for others as well. And Isaac, curiosity. That's right. Take that extra step to know the student, and that creates a sense of belonging and a genuine personal touch. Who am I missing?
And also, finally, and importantly, we heard that this conversation needs to keep going.
Yeah.
And that the students' voices are an integral part, not just one time, but ongoing, to participate in the creation and the development of systems in place, to have their voice just absolutely a part of everything that unfolds.
Which relates right back to what Paul was saying, an inclusive culture.
Wow, I am far more inspired than I even expected to be, and I expected to be. These students, each of you, I mean, wow, talk about like game changers.
I gotta say, but whatever's happening,
there's a lot of
whatever's happening in your environment has cultivated this voice that is coming through to us. And it says to me that, wow, there's a lot of good that's happening.
A lot of really good things happening at Salem-Keizer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, students, all of you, for your voices, for sharing your heart and your insights and your experiences, just beyond value. We're all thankful. And we are now going to hand this over, it looks like, to Sandy and Cynthia for the wrap up.
Thank you so much, Mike and Emily, and thank you to our students. My colleague Cynthia Richardson and I are going to just give a little context for the meeting this evening and what next steps there are for our work in this area. I'm Sandy Price, Director of School Improvement, and the community engagement event has been brought to you by the Student Investment Account, the SIA, and our SIA funds come to us as a result of the Student Success Act, which was passed a couple of years ago. SIA allocations are to be used by districts to support strategies that center the voices of students and families and the community. And our superintendent and district leaders have partnered deeply with the community to develop our SIA strategies. We have 11 of them. Community engagement and social emotional learning are 2 of those that you see evident in our work this evening. We continue to deeply engage the community on a regular basis as we implement our SIA strategies. And for example, another recent development in our SIA strategies is the hiring of a community engagement stakeholder relations specialist. Caleb Roberts, would you please turn your camera on and say hello and wave at us? So, hi, Caleb. Caleb is a former Salem-Keizer student who will be transitioning into his new role in the communications department. And his role is funded by our SIA student investment account. So Caleb, we're delighted to have you moving from the bond work that you have been working on into this new position. And that's one bright example of how these funds are used to continue to bolster our community engagement. So at this point, my esteemed colleague, Director of Student Equity Advancement or Equity Access and Advancement, Cynthia Richardson, will tell you more.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, this has been a very, just an awesome session. It was great hearing the voices of our students. Students, many of you are on the District Advisory Committee. If you're not on the District Advisory Committee, hopefully you are on the Advisory Committee for your schools. In the past, yes, the advisory group was made up of leadership from the schools. We changed it a few years ago because we needed to hear the voices of students that school was not working for. So we meet monthly, don't forget about that. Also, Grace serves as the school board advisor, the student advisor to the school board. It's time again for us to select another one. The applications are due by April 22nd. Those of you that are seniors, reach back, share that information with other students in your schools. Get them to apply. They must have been a member of the district advisory team in order to apply. But get those students out, let them know that we need their voices. We need to hear from them. And our school board and our superintendent loves to hear from them and to know what the needs are. Caleb, hello, very proud of you. When I was principal of North Salem, I remember Caleb, his freshman year. He says, I'm going to graduate with a 4.0. And he did. Dare to be the change. Dare to excel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia and Sandy, for your words of encouragement and inspiration. I mean, wow, just thinking about the gift, students, you have just given us into the community by telling the truth, by sharing your wisdom, by being part of the solution, by giving us suggestions. And so I hope that there are people who weren't able to join us tonight that get a chance to watch a recording and listen to each and every one of you share your heart, share your vision, and give us a roadmap for a legacy. Thank you so much, Mike and Emily, for taking the time to share your gift of community building, of finding common ground. It's such a gift to have all of our partners, not just students, not just staff, not just families, but all of our community in the same space, talking about the same issues. What I'd like to do before I wrap up with a few closing comments is anyone who is able to turn on their camera right now, who is not a student, to turn that camera on right now. And I want to see a rousing round of applause, and you can emoji that thing, or you can clap, or you can do the shake, but I want to just hats off to each and every one of you for being who you are and being the leaders that our community needs. These are hard, courageous conversations that we're having, but they're also hopeful. And there's clearly something here that's beyond the noise in our community. It's about more than just school safety. At a fundamental level, it's about seeing each other. We live in an age where technology can connect us to anyone in a blink of an eye. And yet, we rarely look into each other's eyes. We rarely take the time to really see, know, or trust each other. And so we often do what humans do when we feel vulnerable and alone and afraid and left out. We revert to social survival strategies. It's friend and enemy. It's us versus them. Here's the thing. We can all get a little bit better at seeing each other deeply and in the context of caring caring relationships, allowing ourselves to be deeply seen. It's a question of understanding each other, of honoring the possibility of common ground. It's a question of what we want for our friends, for our kids, for our grandkids, for our neighbors, for our brothers and for our sisters, for our siblings, for our community partners. We're trying to do something here, all of us, that's never been done before. We're trying to reimagine and redesign a post-pandemic world that surfaces our most aspirational values of belonging, hope, restoration, and collective achievement. It's a hard thing to do. It is really hard, but the hardest things in life are the things that yield the most precious wisdom and fruit. And it only gets done if we take the time to respectfully look into each other's eyes in community, seeing each other deeply, taking the time to slow down and really nurture a relationship with each other, to play heads up, 7-up, to take a moment to color and connect, to lean on one another, to hear each other's voices and stories and invite one another into being better for each other and ourselves. You know, research from positive psychology and perennial wisdom of thousands of years tells us that there are three main ingredients to joy in life, to flourishing, to thriving: connection, challenge, and contribution. We've pretty much got the challenge part nailed. But what we're talking about here is connection and contribution. When we talk about connection, we're talking about relationships and sense of belonging. This age of attention seeking might be more accurately reframed as an age of connection seeking. When we talk about challenge, we're talking about being appropriately challenged and stretched into new learning, into new ways of being, into rigorous individual and collective achievement. And finally, contribution. To use your time, energy, resources, talents, and gifts to give back to something beyond our limited selves. Contributing by inviting others in at lunchtime, choosing to get curious and connect, choosing to transform our individual pain so that we do not transmit our pain to others. Choosing to listen and learn why so many Americans say they're chronically lonely. Why, since 2011, the teenage suicide rate is up 70%. Why more than half of our students, of our colleagues, of our friends don't feel a favorable sense of belonging. There are a lot of people, and you've said this and you've seen it, who are very lonely and isolated and afraid. And we can do something about that. We can all do something about that. And we can choose to transcend the easy, limiting, dehumanizing labels. We can choose to see people and dare to get to know them. Maybe even love them. We can acknowledge that frustration and anger and disrespect are contagious, while we also lift up the fact that so are kindness, consideration, and compassion. We can choose to listen to our students when they tell us that one of the things that staff could do to improve a sense of belonging at school is showing care for other staff members. Y'all, we can choose to be the people our students are asking us to be and support them in being who they and their peers authentically aspire to be right now, in this moment, not tomorrow, right now. And when we miss the mark, because we all do and we all will, well, then you know what? We can all try again and fail better, but we can do that together. Before I wrap up, I want to leave you with a little thought experiment of a low burden, high impact practice, something you could take with you today and take it or leave it. It's up to you. So imagine, just for a moment, imagine what might happen if each of us routinely asked ourselves the following questions before we speak or before we act. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? Is it authentic or genuine? And is this who I want to be? Friends, we have fierce beliefs that we can and we must write more intentional chapters in our stories with brave, everyday moments of kindness and respect and listening and inclusion. Real life stories where we all belong. Thank you again to Mike and Emily, to our phenomenal students, to Superintendent Perry for leading us in this work, to our community partners who have been a part of this journey all along, who have been listeners and contributors and supporters, to our communications team who has worked so hard behind the scenes to make this series of conversations a reality, and to each and every one of you who have joined us throughout this series, or maybe for the first time tonight. May the conversation continue, and together, may we find common ground. Until next time, please take good care of yourselves, take good care of each other, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, students. I will be sending you a note to your email inboxes for being here tonight. Have a great night, everyone.